So today on Blank Canvas, we're talking with a senior textiles and fiber major at the Savannah College of Art and Design. We'll be exploring pattern, placement, and materials and how those decisions are shaped by personal experience, memory, and the relationship between textiles and the body. Before we get into the work itself, I'd love for you to introduce yourself.
Hi Blank Canvas, I'm Abagail Peter. Thank you for having me today.
So can you tell us a little bit about yourself, how old you are, where did you grow up, and what was your background like before college?
So I'm 21 years old. I'm from Wisconsin, and I grew up there, and then when I was 16, I moved to Marietta, Georgia. Most of my family growing up was not very artistic except for my grandma. She was always starting a new task, a new painting, or
I love that.
She would thrift things and then paint them, especially for her garden. So many things for her garden. And she got me really into anything creative.
That's absolutely beautiful. That kind of early on environment kind of really shapes how you notice the world. And I also have that similar sense of my grandmother also being an artist. So I love that. So kind of getting into you now, what originally drew you into SCAD? And then how did you end up deciding to study textiles and fiber?
So I actually did not come into SCAD as a fibers major. I came in as a painting major.
Really?
Yes. And it was a kind of a last minute decision. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I knew I wanted to do something in the creative field, and painting was kind of just a hobby of mine at the time. So I was like, you know what, let me go for that. Let's apply to places. So I got to SCAD, and I was still a painting major. I hadn't even taken a painting class yet, but I was in one of the first classes that you're supposed to take. It's called Color Theory. It was freshman year, and that was the class that kind of made me figure out that I wanted to do fibers, mostly because of my professor, Donald Simmons.
Oh yes, Donald Simmons, shout out.
All of the projects that we were doing, I was making patterns instead of they were very open-ended, so you could do whatever you wanted. But I was mostly doing patterns, and he was very into asking us what our hobbies were and what we like to do and this and that, getting to know us. And I told him I loved crocheting and painting and sewing. I told him I made a lot of tote bags. And he was like, you should look into fibers. They do a lot of that, and it seems like you already are you're already
exactly
in the major.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I looked into it, and I ended up really loving it. And I switched before I even took a painting class.
That's so fun. And honestly, it's it was already a part of your creative identity and language, kind of how you're just saying. And I absolutely adore how he encouraged you to kind of pursue this. So looking at you right now, I can see you have a couple of tattoos. So what was your first one, and what made you decide to get it?
So my first tattoo is this matching flower tattoo on my shoulder with my best friend from high school. It's not a design, it's a flower, and neither of us know what kind of flower it is. We just both really love the design of it. And yeah, we got it together.
I love that. It kind of shows you kind of that specific relationship that you guys had in that special moment. Kind of getting into that, do you feel like tattoos feel more like memories, decoration, or markers, or kind of showcasing that different phases in your life?
I definitely feel like tattoos show a point in your life. When I get old, I'm gonna see all these tattoos on my body and think I was 20 years old at the time that I got those, and reminisce on that time. I might not even like them at that point in my life, but I'll still appreciate them for the memories.
Exactly.
But they are also a decorative thing too. I love how they look.
Yes.
I feel
do you think the aesthetic hits more than the meaning for you, or do you feel like the meaning follows first and then you appreciate the aesthetic more?
I feel like at first, like at very first second, it's aesthetic, and then you're like, oh, but this is the tattoo, and this is what it means, and that's why I love it, and that's why it's meaningful. So yeah.
No, I adore that. And it kind of shows you like an archive of all of your times and your memories on your body. Do you have any tattoos that you forget you even have?
Definitely. The ones that I can't see, like right in front of my face, I forget about all the time. Like I have some on my back, or I have some like on the inside of my arm that I don't see very often, and I just forget about them.
Yeah. Placement kind of plays a role in that. That makes sense
Definitely.
a lot. Yeah. So has your aesthetic changed getting your tattoos throughout time?
I think so. I mean, I think aesthetic is always changing. Like, I'm not even the same as I was 6 months ago.
Exactly.
Like,
no, that's yes.
It changes all the time, and that goes with tattoos as well. Like, some of them, if I were to get them now, I don't think I would have chosen the same design. But yeah, even like sizing of them too, I have a lot of small they're all very small. They're the biggest,
kind of like patchwork.
Yes,
yeah.
Very patchwork. They're probably like 2 inches big, at the most. But like now I'm starting to think about maybe like filling in the empty spaces with like bigger tattoos.
I love that.
Doing stuff like that.
Yeah. So kind of bringing that idea into your textile work, how does that same growth and aesthetic change show up as you've progressed throughout this major?
Yeah, so even in my textile work, I feel like if I would go back to those first fibers classes I took and like redo the assignments or like do them for the first time again, but at this point in my life, they would be so different. Like such a different vibe, maybe even color-wise very different. Although I do see myself sticking with like sort of the same palette, I've noticed, but it would still be like definitely different. Definitely like a growth, and it's like gonna continue to do that as I keep going.
So do you ever reference kind of your old works in any of the current like work that you're working on, or is it you go back, you see a piece, and you maybe take that specific like beading that you used or the color, and then you incorporate that within your new work, I guess?
I definitely have, like, I mean, in the beginning we were just pretty much learning techniques, so implementing like multiple of those techniques in the same project is something I've started doing. And like with motifs, I've found myself reusing them in some way, shape, or form. Like even if they don't look anything like how they used to, I like will rework them and use them in a new pattern or something like that. Or like even taking an old pattern that I did and reworking it into something completely new. I love doing that. It's one of my favorite things.
Do you switch your mediums whenever you do that, typically?
It depends actually, because I've done both where I took like a fully digital design and reworked it, and I've also taken like paintings that I've done and reworked them on Photoshop and stuff. So
I love that. Yeah. So getting into you as a senior now, how would you describe your textile practice today?
So I am focusing mostly on woven textiles for interiors. I am in my senior year and I'm really more focused on like collaboration, and my works in particular are very focused on like sheer and open work constructions.
I love that.
I've explored a little bit in like fashion and accessories too, but I'm mostly in interiors.
So focused on kind of your process, where does inspiration usually come from for you?
I don't have like a specific source of inspiration, or like I'm not like nature or anything like that. Like, I don't know. It's more like subconscious, and it's more about the material and the colors and what I want to turn out as.
that end
more
result.
than anything. Yes.
That makes sense. So kind of getting into, I know you said your environment. Does your environment, like Savannah, influence you at all?
Oh yeah, definitely. I love going on walks here because it's just so, like, there's just so many tiny little details everywhere, like in railings, it sounds weird, but like in people's windows.
Yes, no, it's not weird. Yes.
Like I walk past this house by Pepe all the time. Pepe is the Fibers building. And I walk past this house that, like, in the windows, their curtains are, like, beaded.
Oh, that's
throughout
beautiful.
them. And it's so, so beautiful. And I've been wanting to, like, make a pattern out of it or something, like, take inspiration from that.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, I focus a lot. Like, the architecture here is beautiful. I, like, look at that for inspiration heavily.
Did you ever go to any of the textile shops that were here? I know that there was a Savannah local owned one that closed in Forsyth, like near the Forsyth area. Have you ever gone in and got any inspiration from any of the fabric stores around here?
Not from, like, fabric stores, I don't think. It's more about, like, the architecture and stuff for me.
That makes sense. Something that you just come about instead of it being already precisely organized or something. So kind of bringing back, because you were talking about your hometown, do you feel like you had any influences from there, even if it is subconsciously?
I mean, probably. I couldn't, like, tell you an exact thing that was like, oh yeah, this in Wisconsin was, like, a huge influence for me. But mostly because Wisconsin was not a very, like, artsy place. I didn't, like, no one that I went to school with there went for anything creative.
Really?
Yeah. I, like, could not tell you one person that did that I know. So I think moving down to Georgia, there started to be some of that, and that, like, helped, but I was always very artistic.
That makes sense. So Savannah's kind of your stronger influence now.
Yes, definitely.
So other than your kind of physical environment, where do you gather inspiration from?
So besides, like, physical environment, I'd say one of the biggest, like, influences for that is probably Pinterest.
We all love Pinterest.
Yes. And Instagram. Like, they're both platforms that, like, eventually they, like, turn into your aesthetic.
Yes, your algorithm, always.
Yes, you just, like, are searching things on there, and then it's just coming up with things. Like, I'll go on my home feed now on Pinterest, and it'll be, like, all these things that I'm completely obsessed with, like, right off the bat. So that gives me a lot of inspiration. Another one is WGSN. More for, like, trends.
The forecasting aspect of it.
The forecasting. Yeah.
That definitely makes sense.
I feel like WGSN is good for, like, a professional type of thing.
Especially, I'm sure, whenever you're having to follow kind of your class briefs, it's important to kind of pull the industry knowledge behind it.
Yes, and that's where I learned about WGSN too, is in one of my classes where my professor was like, go on the site, look at trends, like this and that, like base your patterns off of that.
Yeah. Do you ever see yourself looking at WGSN whenever you're not kind of working on a project that's for school and one of your own projects, kind of like a personal passion one?
I do, yeah, definitely. Because I think it's, like, good to see what's out there.
Yeah.
Like, even looking at other artists, too, like, just all of it is, like, it's good to see what everyone else in the world is doing and what, like, the predictions are for trends and, like, see if you're, like, on the right track with what you're doing already.
And then it allows you kind of, like, to adapt and maybe innovate kind of the current things that you're working on. I adore that. So on that note, we're going to take a quick break and we'll get back to you shortly. Stay tuned. And so we're back from break. And so for the first half, we kind of went over your background and a little bit about your process. So getting a little bit more into that, what usually comes first when you are starting a project?
So a lot of people come up with their, like, inspiration first, but I really like to think about the final product first, because I feel like that really influences, like, my whole design process. It influences, like mostly with weaving, because that's what I do the most. I like to think, like, let's say I want to make a curtain. Okay, what do I want that curtain to look like? What colors do I want? What construction do I want? Do I want it to be more open work, more like refined work or closed work? Like, you just get like all the details figured out. I feel like that's just how my brain works. I get all those details figured out if I know what the final product is, what it's like being designed for.
That makes a lot of sense, especially when it applies to kind of textures and how they like kind of form and drape and etc. Like especially dealing with like structure and that material. So getting into kind of, I know you're talking about kind of your spacing. How do you think about scale and density whenever you're designing patterns?
So scale, it's kind of just like an instinct type thing. It also depends on, like, usually you're making patterns for a collection, and it kind of just depends on the collection itself too. Like, you can mess with it, luckily, like digital, that's what I love about it. You can mess with it, and like you could blow it up a ton and see how that looks, but sometimes doing that, like, it gets blurry, it looks pixelated, this and that, so sometimes it looks better a lot smaller, but if it's too small, you might not be able to like even see what it is. So it's very just like instinct based, and personal preference, honestly, too, because there's a lot of like patterns that people have made that I'm like, oh, if I made that, I would make that a little bit different scale. But yeah, it's just like preference. And then there's also like the balance of it all, like, and the scales. You don't want, like, you have all these motifs and patterns and you don't want them to all be like the same size, because it's like, they're not as balanced.
It's not visually appealing.
Yes, that's what I was thinking of too. So that's one thing that I usually like look out for. Another thing is like when you're making a pattern, there's this thing called kerning, and you want to like zoom out of the pattern, and if it makes like, if one motif like makes almost like a line in the pattern, that's what you don't want. That's like for sure
it's a red flag. Yeah.
Yes, it's a red flag. So those are just the kind of things that I like look out for and focus on when I'm designing patterns.
Yeah, so kind of, I mean, you kind of got a little bit into it, but how do you think about placement when designing? Maybe, I know you're talking about interiors, so maybe we can get into that.
Yeah, I mean, placement too, it's like you have the bigger motifs and the smaller motifs, and it's like, what motifs do you want to be like the center of attention, especially like for what it's going on, like that final output, final product. Like, let's say you're making a pattern for like a couch cushion or something like that, like which one of those motifs do you want to be the main center of attention without making it look like, I don't know what the right word is, but like not professional.
Yeah, you know, I mean, my best way is tacky.
Yes, that's a good word.
No, I definitely think that plays a huge factor in it. So I see you have a bow tattoo, and then whenever I was looking through your work previously, you also had a hand-painted pattern incorporating a bow. Do you ever have these motifs repeat in your work like this? And if so, is it intentional or unintentional?
So that was actually so unintentional.
I love that.
Like, extremely unintentional.
So which one came first?
The one that came first was the pattern that I did. I honestly could not remember why I used that motif, but I guess like bows were just like a cute thing that I wanted to like incorporate, and like I said, I don't have like specific inspirations, so I guess that was just like a cute little motif I wanted to put in my work. And then I got the tattoo of the bow, completely different like reasoning and everything. I got this one because I wanted like a tattoo that represented me, and I feel like a bow like represents fibers and textiles and all that, so that's why I got the tattoo. And then literally like a few days ago, I realized that I used pretty much the same motif, and it's so funny.
It's so funny, but it's honestly beautiful.
I like, those two bows were like not close together in time either, at all. Like, they were definitely like 2 years apart.
But it came back to you.
Yes.
Some way, unintentionally. So how does negative space function in your work?
I mean, right now I'm focusing a lot about like open warps, and you really have to think about how open you want that to be, how much negative space you want in the design. And negative space itself is like a huge, I guess, like motif too in it. So that's the thing, like light passing through the work is a good like thought process when thinking about negative space, and like just as a whole like design decision. There's so much that goes into it.
That makes sense. Kind of going back into your aesthetic and kind of your end product, how you want that negative space to kind of play in.
Oh, and I've also, like, even when I'm setting up a new warp, one of my most recent projects, I like intentionally left spaces in it to like thinking about placement again, like I left those spaces purposely to show more light in those areas when it's like, because it was for a curtain.
Yeah, I feel like that definitely would play a lot into it.
Yeah.
So you said warp more than once. So for our blank canvas listeners, explain what a warp is.
So a warp is, it's when you're weaving, it's basically the vertical yarn strands in like a woven, and it's what like is, so basically you set up the warp and then that's what goes on the loom itself, and that can't be changed once it's on the loom. And then a weft is the yarn that goes through that you can change as you weave the entire time.
That makes sense. So it's kind of can't be changed always.
Yes, it's the horizontal yarn strings.
Okay, well, thank you for that. So I know we kind of talked a little bit about your digital, physical. So I personally feel like the process of the digital and physical, regardless of the medium, would be different. So how does working digitally differ from your working physically for you?
So they're mostly different for me because digital, you can go back and change it as many times as you want. There's no, like, obviously you have to like save versions of like the original and all of that so that you don't get like too far of a change and then it like, looks bad. But you can go back and you can color change and do all the things, and you can rework it as many times as you want. That's what I love about digital. But then physical, you can change things to an extent, but like you can't go backwards.
Yeah, you can't change that color.
You can't change the colors, like all of that. So they have their differences. Like physical work feels a lot more permanent in a way.
Do you find yourself going back to work on any of these digital or physical versions? I know you're kind of involved a lot in current projects, so you might not have the most time, but do you see yourself ever going back and adding those things in?
Yeah, I do. I actually do pretty often. I love taking my old patterns that I did like 2 years ago and reworking them to make them like, I guess, to fit my aesthetic.
Yeah, going back to a conversation we had earlier. Yeah, I love that.
So I've done that a few times, and it's also really fun to see how many different patterns you can get with one thing.
Oh yeah, the versatility of it. So kind of getting into this whole process, everything that we're covering, have you ever designed differently, or do you design differently for yourself versus others?
To an extent, yes, but also no, because like once I get into my like professional career and everything, yes, I will have to be designing for others. Right now I'm just designing for myself, but like I am in the middle of a collaboration right now, and it's like I'm designing for someone else, but I'm also putting in my like aesthetic and my techniques into it. Like even other fibers makers aren't gonna do the same thing that I'm doing, so that's what makes like my work unique to me. But it's also like for the purpose of someone else.
Exactly. You still have to keep your own visual identity and mix of the collaboration.
Yes, like I never want to lose that in my work.
No, never. Because then it doesn't become your work, right?
Exactly.
So I know we talked about Blank Canvas earlier being this magazine talking about kind of ink and style, and you obviously are a fibers major. You have the ink as well. So do you see parallels between tattooing and textile design?
I definitely do, especially with the motifs. That is like the most like point blank obvious thing. Like we put all these like motifs on our body, and like we think about the placement of them and how they look next to each other and their aesthetic and all of that. And that's the exact same as making patterns. Exact same.
Yeah.
Like, and with or without color, or like what colors, like all of that is such a parallel.
Yeah. So I can see that a lot of your fibers and things like that, they have a lot of color incorporated into them. And so your tattoos, as I can see, they're more black and white. So why was that a style choice for you?
So I think I wear a lot of color, so I don't know. I just didn't want to have to like think about matching my tattoo's colors to like what I'm wearing and this and that. I feel like the motifs kind of just like stand out for themselves, and I don't know. I think it's also kind of like an aesthetic choice for my tattoos. Maybe one day I'll get like a color tattoo, but I don't know. I really like the black and white, and then like in my work and my outfits and like all of that, I love a lot of color. So there's a balance between it.
No, I definitely think your color and your fibers and your outfit just kind of express your identity. You definitely have a bubbly personality, so I think it showcases very well. So before I wrap up, I know we're getting closer to SCAD's graduation. So I think it's 3 months away from now, right?
Oh, that's
I know.
Scary.
So as we're getting ready to graduate, how do you see your practice evolving after this May?
Well, I of course want to continue focusing on weaving. That's like a huge thing for me. There's not like, I've started looking at jobs and started applying, which is so terrifying.
So daunting.
So daunting. But there's not a ton right now for like wovens in interiors specifically. I see a lot for fashion, but not as much for interiors.
That's really interesting.
And if it is for interiors, it's not like actually physically weaving. It's more like working on spec sheets and editing color and like all of that, which is, I do not want to be sitting at a desk doing that all day.
it's the more tedious, like, not that it's, you know what I mean.
Yeah. So I also have found like that I love collaborating and like seeing the whole process of everything from start to finish. Like, I don't want to be in this little bubble where I just like weave and then hand it off to someone to like do whatever they want with it. I want to like be a part of the whole process, like work with them, like whoever I'm collaborating, to figure out like what they want, what kind of aesthetic they want for it, and then I'd get to make it, and then I'd get to go through the process of like seeing what they do with it, and like just getting to like be there for all the fun parts of the process. Like, that's what I want to see the most, and that's what I love about textiles.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost tying back into how I was asking about your work evolving throughout your career. You want to see this work that you're making evolve throughout the process to that end result that you care so much about, and you style based off of. No, I think that that's a beautiful correlation. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. I'm really excited to see where your work goes next and how you practice and how your practice continues to grow.
Thank you so much. I loved being here today.
Thank you. And so for our Blank Canvas listeners, thank you for tuning in, and we will be off the canvas to talk to you soon.